I think before then something will happen. I just think it's untenable at the moment, and the way all this rubbish is getting played out on social media and the innuendo, and it feels like both camps are trying to put their narrative out, and then, it's just torture, honestly.
Hello and welcome to another week of Immortal Behaviour. Thanks to our mates at Tab. How you going, Joey?
I'm good.
Good?
Too, I'm sick of hearing the name.
We might be sticking to that name today. Lockie Galvin?
No, I was going to say Albanese.
Oh yeah. Well, my husband's been watching the debates actually.
Oh, the debates.
Couldn't have married a more polar opposite human.
Oh yes. No, I watch the debates too.
You watch the footy?
You can't BS to a BSer.
Oh my gosh,
Anyway.
no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
All right, well, the other name, obviously Lockie Galvin and the circus that's going around with him, it continues. What's with it? What's with these big names teeing off so early in the season?
Well, the Dylan Brown one, that was a circus, it felt like for a month. And then lucky for him, DCE, he poked his head up. So that went away with Dylan Brown. And then all of a sudden, Lockie Galvin, so DCE gets pushed aside. So we got three of the biggest stories this year have been about high-profile players leaving and money and reasons why they're leaving. The game's flying. The ratings are up with Nine and Fox. The crowds are up. We're not talking about that. Can we just sort it? RLPA, NRL, get in a room and sort it out, because I'd imagine the fans have just had enough. Absolutely had a gutful.
Do you think it's a coincidence that they're all halves as well?
I haven't thought about that. Well,
just to spring that on you wasn't on our notes.
The market at the moment, it's, they're a huge commodity in the game. We know the price and the market value for it. Yeah, there's something in that for sure.
If the Tigers don't find a way to move past this, is it something that could derail their season, do you think?
Maybe. It's a big maybe. It's a big responsibility now on Benji's leadership, his coaching, which, by the way, I see the Tigers play and I'm really enjoying watching the way they attack, especially. It's got fingerprints of Benji all over it. And it's up to the senior players. Senior players, coach can't be there all the time. It's up to the senior players, and they can't have this gang bitching about this and this gang bitching about this. Got to get together. It's
got to work. We've played rugby league. You got to be on the same team.
Everyone's got to be pulling in the one direction.
So, what about their team? You spoke about how much you love their attack. Adam Dewey slots into number 6 last week in particular, but even just the style that they've been playing. Lockie Galvin's, he's been given a bit of a license to roam, but he's always on that right edge with Jareem Buller. Do you think that's what Adam Dewey focuses on, or how do they navigate that this week at least?
I think Jerome will play on the ball. I think Dewey will probably split to the left, and Buller will be on the right, and Jerome will sort of link in that middle role. But we'll soon see. Adam Dewey's a good replacement. It's just.
But you think they'll still do it differently, even though he jumps
I think they'll do it differently, because Jerome hasn't been the major ball player. The dominant ball player has been Lockie Galvin. He's been sort of going everywhere, where Jerome's just been locked on that left side. Might take a bit of time. I don't know. It's just a mess. It is an absolute mess. Sooner we sort this out, the better. I feel like we've been talking about this for so long, about transfer windows, about players signing contracts 18 months out, about players wanting out of contract. It goes both ways. The clubs want to resold players, and contracts are worth nothing these days.
I guess the good thing that the Tigers have under their belt, Jerome Luai coming in as a 6 and playing 7, that they do have that versatility and he can play both very well. But do you think if he continues to play in the 2s, Lockie Galvin, do you think that almost keeps the narrative alive? What if they start losing their games? Do you think that just continues this conversation around Lockie Galvin to keep going?
I don't think you'll see out the season. I think something will happen in the next, June 30? Is that the cut-off time? I think before then something will happen. I just think it's untenable at the moment, and the way all this rubbish is getting played out on social media and the innuendo, and it feels like both camps are trying to put their narrative out, and then it's just torture, honestly. Can you just get a footy in your hands and play footy? It's just, nowadays there's so many shows like award-winning Immortal Behaviour.
Freddie and the Eighth, your column.
NRL 360. There's shows, and this just gives it life, and it just it just intensifies. Anyway, that's the game. It's a soap opera, which is rugby league, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger and worse, whichever, or better and better, whichever way you look at it. But the game just thrives on it.
It's pretty awful, though, for a 19-year-old kid to have this kind of weight. If and when we do see him, you're saying they might just give him a bit of a pass to go, but if he does come back into first grade, or even just turning up to training, how hard would that be for the kid?
Well, we saw a clip of him back at training, which is good. I can imagine he'd had knots in his stomach turning up. It's a hell of a lot of pressure on him. He's got to realise he's got to differentiate. There's two people. There's Lachie Galvin, the footy player, and there's him as a person. They're not attacking him as a person, they're attacking the footy player. Trust me, I know how to handle these scandals. So he's got to separate the two, and then I'd imagine he doesn't want to leave the house. Every time he leaves the house, people are looking at him, and it's just going, are they looking at me? They hate me. It's just an awful situation. And for a 19-year-old young fella, I can imagine it's incredibly difficult for him. But in a way, it's been put on him because I believe he's a pawn. He's been a pawn in all this fiasco, circus, rubbish, whatever you want to call it.
So you think the advice that he's been given has definitely hindered him?
I think so. And you read between the lines, you listen to different media people who obviously are hearing the Tigers side of things, that there was 7-point, grievances from Lachie about the coaching of Benji, which I find unbelievable considering Benji's record. I couldn't think of a better coach for him. But I don't think that would have come from Lachie. Well, I doubt it. And it's just, as I said, I think he's just a pawn in it. I think he'll end up at Parramatta. I reckon I don't know if the deal's been done or whether there's handshakes, but I think he could end up in Parramatta before the month's out.
Why do you think Parramatta, out of all the clubs? So let's talk about the clubs that have been thrown in the mix. You've got the Eels, the Dogs, Manly, and that conversation obviously around Cherry Evans, and the Roosters.
I don't know if Manly would have the salary cap room. I know DCE's leaving, but there's talk of Turbo. Who would know? I think Manly no, a hard no. Anthony Seibold said on the news, a hard no.
Okay.
Roosters a no. They got DCE going there, or we think, with Sammy Walker.
So that leaves what, the Eels and the Dogs?
The Eels and the Dogs, and I think the Eels. I think if you want to draw comparisons, you got Isaac Moses, the manager. His nephew or cousin is Mitchell Moses. Dylan Brown leaves to go to Newcastle, and there's that money there. So I understand Lachie was a Parramatta fan and even played juniors there. So I think he'll end up at the Eels.
Even though you said that it's on the nose in terms of what came out, particularly his comment around Benji's coach, which I think...
But I don't know if it was his comment.
Exactly. So, and look, I think probably doesn't matter which way you look at that. It's affected everyone to a degree, but I remember when he came in and he was on, was it the Sunday Footy Show? Was it Freddie? And everyone was raving about him as a person.
He was on the award-winning Turn It Up.
Was he? There you go. Another one that's absolutely pumping.
What an aria.
But you were raving about him. I remember chatting to you about him as a person and how surprised you were.
Just how much he loved it. I remember sitting there and just talking to him on air, saying, mate, do you understand what you're doing? That was last year. Yep. And he was as green as grass, but he just wanted the ball. I said, do you understand your legacy? If you deliver a premiership to the West Tigers in your career, mate, your legacy will just live on, and you'll be elevated to here. And I remember reading a newspaper, and he actually mentioned that.
Really?
So what's happened from there to now is, once again, that word's just been a circus. I wish him well. I've got no problem with him moving. Half his luck. But 18 months out from the end, we need to sort that with the NRL and the RLPA. But I hate the process of shitbagging Benji and shitbagging the West Tigers. I just find that horrible and disrespectful.
I think most people would probably agree with you there. What about, you brought it up before, social media, and obviously some teammates have come out and made some pretty wild statements, I guess, to their own. And then the other side of that conversation is, we know...
Well, Jerome and
Taruva,
which is just ridiculous.
So do you think they just need to suck that up and park it?
Taruva has sent it on I understand, a private message something, whatever that.
Private DM. You'd get a
Nothing's
few of
private.
those.
Oh, please. Actually, my son showed me those private things. I was like,
Best not to read them.
geez, I didn't know I was so big in the gay community. Anyway,
It's the teeth.
it's teeth. I don't know what it is. All those nights dancing on podium with my shirt off. Where were we? Social media. Nothing's private these days. You can't send a message and expect it not to get out. I think if you asked Taruva, he'd be probably upset that he sent it out, that emotions were running high, and also Jerome. I don't think Jerome's one was too bad. I understand their mantra this year is team first, but it felt like a little undercut, a little uppercut in the stomach.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Of course it was. As soon as I saw it, I took a screenshot and sent it into my footy chat. Like everyone's doing it. It's calculated.
Social media, but like I don't really understand the young ones in the social media, but that's how they communicate each other. That's how they meet each other. Sending, what do they say? Sliding
into the DMs.
That's how they meet each other.
You're all over it.
It's a weird world we live in.
It is so weird.
I just I don't know where we're going in the future.
It's not well. That part of the game, that's not going
away.
anywhere.
You
So we've
come
just
in
got to
after a
manage
game.
it better.
You come in
right?
after a game. They got their phones.
Yeah, in the sheds you can see them.
What are you doing? You get some gronk living at home who's 50, living in a basement, saying you're a ranked player, you're this, you're that. Probably because they lost their multi or something. I don't know.
So how does that and how it's played out with social media stack up to the messaging or what we've heard the reports around potentially the senior playing group saying to Benji, we don't want to play with him this week because of it. Does it sit better with you that the senior playing group's done that?
I heard this morning, but that's been squashed, that it was just Benji's, which who would know?
How do you know?
Who would know? But a big thing when you're playing, you got to understand when you're out there, like you played, it's a scary place. And the person defending alongside you, or the person you're playing with, you got to trust them. And for whatever reason, at the moment, if the players cannot trust Lockie because of all this propaganda getting spread by who knows what, then you can understand why they wouldn't want to play with Lockie this week. And that's why I think he just can't be there moving forward. You know what would be a smart move for Lockie? If he goes to another club, or even go to England for a year. Get away from it all, go over in England, go over there on your own, 19, 20, and probably grow up a little bit, living away from home. But footy over in England's just sensational. He'd love playing in the Super League. So there'd be an option. I feel for him. I really feel for him. I understand they've reached out the RLPA. I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. On that point of, look, I couldn't agree more in terms of playing footy with someone that doesn't want to be next to you. Like, you're going to war with them. They're not going to put their body on their line for you, or you're thinking different ways. It's wild to think. But obviously, to a degree, we've all turned up to our workplace, no matter what it is, and you just have to play the game. You've got to accept people. So is there a time that you can think of that? Like, obviously, when you were playing social media, it's not a part of it.
So many times. There's blokes had punch-ups in the sheds.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. Punch-ups when you're out having a drink. It just happens.
Yeah.
And look, it didn't get out because in those days there's no social media. Obviously there'd be rumours, especially around Newcastle, far out, the rumours floating around.
You wouldn't have been involved in it.
No, not at all. But you got on with it. It's part of team first. You got to put those aside, and then once you get on the field, they use this, we're brothers, and just get out there and play together. But it's just life. There's going to be different people, different personalities, different values, whatever. And everyone doesn't gel, but you come together, give and take.
All right, let's park that. We wish Lockie Galvin all the best. Him and his welfare. Hopefully the Tigers get a win, because that would also just calm the noise a little bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be some game.
Big game. Mitch Moses is back.
Moses back.
Woo! Can't wait. All right, it's now time.
Moses back around Easter too.
Moses back around Easter.
Now,
Stop it.
I can't
Stop.
say
Be
anything.
careful. Be
Jason
careful.
Stevens has sent me messages in the past, Steve-O.
Has he?
And I don't care if Steve-O,
get
but
that
he said
wrong.
Brad Thorne too.
He's a scary man, Brad Thorne.
Couldn't care less about you, Steve.
So sorry.
But Thorny. Sorry, mate.
All right.
Good Catholic boy. I went to Catholic schools. I'm only joking, Steve-O.
I don't know how much that shows, but that's okay. We can jog on from that as well.
I actually went to Mass Christmas Day. It
What?
was good.
2024? Just
Yeah,
the year
just
gone?
gone. Yeah, down at Adelong. My wife's family.
Right.
Sat next to Stan Grant.
You are a good
You
husband.
know Stan Grant? Yeah, did Q&A and
Oh, yeah.
C&E. Yeah, he was there.
Really?
Yeah.
Unreal. Do you have a big call for the week? Because it is time for our tab
Yep.
big call. What have you got? You
Well,
you were good
last
last week,
week, yeah.
weren't you?
I hope you followed Uncle Joey in. Well, this week's going to be the same. I like the Dolphins if only if Jerome Hughes is out. Look, if Jerome Hughes plays, they'll win the Storm. But if he's out, I think the Dolphins can pull another upset up there at Suncorp Stadium. And I think there's a big win for the Dogs. I think the Dogs are going to make a statement on
Friday.
Yes, Good Friday. 70,000. It's going to be one of those great occasions. I'm already stressing about how I get out of the precinct there at Homebush. So I think the Dogs can have a 13+ win.
Imagine that as a kid, going to the Easter show for a few hours.
I went a few years ago.
Stocking up on lolly bags and then going to the footy.
I went there a few years ago.
Did you?
And it was hot and it was stanky.
Gross.
It was like a Will Ferrell movie.
Oh.
You know where he gets around the table,
Yeah.
Will Ferrell? That's
Oh, poor kids at the Easter show that day.
Yes.
Far out.
I know everyone bags the carnies or the shows.
Yeah.
Everyone bags them. But
They're
you get on
rude.
these rides and you're putting their life in their hands. They must have had to build
Pretty
those.
wild, isn't it?
What was the pirate ship and the
What's
Joy
the worst?
Wizard?
What's the worst ride you've ever gone on? Did you ever go on that one at Luna Park where you stuck to the walls?
No. Yeah, that's the Gravitron.
The
That wasn't
Vomitron?
that.
I thought it was called the Vomitron. Maybe that was
There's
just
the
me.
one at Dreamworld or something when you sit in the seat
Yeah.
and you just go up and I reckon you're 200 metres. I'm scared of heights.
Right.
I would reckon I was that far off having to have a nappy. Man nappy.
Oh, what an absolute treat that would have been. Let's chat Nathan Cleary.
Yes.
Penrith Panthers at the moment, they're obviously not flying, and a lot of that just being the halfback comes onto his shoulders at different times. Everything's got to work, obviously, but you as a half, you would have gone through, or you did go through different periods where you're flying and then it's quite tricky. What did you learn as a halfback from when it wasn't smooth sailing and you didn't get that front football and you weren't winning?
You got to understand how to play on the back foot, and now people don't know what I'm talking about. It's a slower play the ball. So if you get a quicker play the ball, then when you get the ball, you might have 4 or 5 metres to dictate. When you're playing behind, you might only have 2 metres and they're coming at you. So you have to adjust the way you play. You have to play more conservative. You have to work out the players around you, which I've spoke about the last couple of weeks about Nathan. But you just got to learn to win a different way. You got to be more patient. You got to understand, more patient with the players around you. And I still don't think they've tweaked the way they're playing, because they're trying to get forward. Then Isaiah Yo's playing at the back to Nathan, and then we saw the other night against the Dolphins, they lost 20 metres on a couple of shifts. And if it's not on, then don't move the ball sideways. But yeah, it's a tough period for Nathan, but it should be exciting because he's got to learn a different way to win.
Yeah.
And look, they look tired. They've played a lot of footy. Dylan Edwards, Isaiah Yeo, Nathan, even Luai, Liam Martin, these players, they've played a heck of a lot of footy. And they play a style of footy which is so hard.
Yeah.
They grind and grind to grind. So maybe they have to play a different style, maybe move the ball more, coming out of trouble.
Is there something obvious, like sticking to Nathan Cleary, that conversation, is there something obvious that you see about his game in particular that you could almost just say, hey mate, try this and this?
Try to
and I
win the
think
game
it'll
with your
help?
kicking game. Try to win the game with your kicking game. Just go out and concentrate on your kicking game, especially the first 10, 15 minutes of each half. Build the game for your players around you, because we've seen they compete for 15, 20 minutes, and the young guys, whether it's a physical thing or a mental thing, they just cannot stay in the grind. It's just natural. Only the really special young players, they got in their outside backs, they're 19, 20, 21. They're not ready for that week in, week out grind, and especially the way they play. So he's got to learn to win the game with his kicking game. But as I said, it's exciting for Nathan. It's the next stage of his career.
What about for his dad, the coach, Ivan Cleary? He's obviously no stranger to losing football games before that incredible streak.
Well, he was
What do you
at the
think
Tigers
is...
when how long was he at the Tigers? He wasn't there too long.
Nah, maybe only a
He
couple.
did a great job at the Warriors. But they would have gone through periods, the enigmatic Warriors, but he got them winning.
What do you think his messaging would be in the Panthers camp internally? Nothing that leaks, but what do you think would be said in between those 4 walls?
I think be patient, it'll turn. I think patient, keep working hard, it'll turn. But maybe he's got to look at some different ways to play, especially coming out of trouble. Brian Toto's been a massive out.
Yeah.
And he's been out for most of the year. Fisher Harris has been a massive out. He's a play one front rower. And they spoke about the inexperienced out wide, especially defensively. They've been very fragile out wide defensive with those young players.
You take those two players alone, Fisher Harris and Toto,
The best go
what they
forward,
do to the go forward, that's how they set up their entire play.
Well, Brian Toto's the best front rower coming out of trouble in the game. He just pinballs out of trouble. He gets those play twos off kick receptions, gets down, plays the ball quick. So they've missed him, but they've missed Fisher Harris also. It's a tough period.
All right, very quickly. Big game on Friday. They're going to run over from the Easter show. We spoke about it very quickly.
Carnies.
Dogs South, let's go. Pump it
Smell
up.
like
We're on air
cabbage.
live at 3 o'clock, but kick off 4:05. What are you most looking forward to again about this clash?
Well, big crowds becomes big energy and excitement. They're going to bash each other early. And Wayne Bennett teams, they're high completions. They don't make errors coming out of trouble. So this is going to be a big arm wrestle for a while. I think late in each half, I think Canterbury can score a couple of tries. And the way they've defended, I think South will only score between 10 and 12 points at most. So it's going to be a bash up. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Can't
Looking
wait.
forward to the Bash Fest on Friday. We've got a great game of footy tonight as well. But that's it for us for Immortal Behaviour for this week. We'll see you again next week.